Friends, family, foes, the video that we have all been waiting for a year and a half is finally upon us. Today, we are unboxing the entire Disney Villains Funko Pop collection. I'm also sick, bear with me. Where's my teacup? Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and that is right. They are finally here, everyone. After almost a year and a half of waiting, I have finally, in my grasps, the entire Disney Villains Funko Pop collection. You might remember, this collection was announced spring of 2021. Funkoween 2021 was pretty well centered around these figures. Then Halloween season 2021 rolled around. None of these figures were anywhere to be found. Slowly but surely, 2022, they started to roll out, and I must say, they were 100% worth the wait, and there were even some surprises thrown into the collection. So, when this collection was first announced, I did a video basically on the day where I was ranking and reviewing all of the figures based on which ones were my favorite and which ones were my least favorite. And like I always like to say, the ones I was least likely to get versus the ones I was most likely to get. Well, suffice it to say, regardless of those preferences, I ended up getting all of them. So for today's unboxing video, I thought it'd be a lot of fun to like unbox each figure, but then do a new ranking to see how the actual figures hold up against the glam shots that were first released, and also to see if anything, for my opinion, changes now that I actually have the figures in hand. Now, one thing that I will point out is that most of these figures are still available and in circulation. So, if any of them catch your fancy, you're still able to grab them for yourself, or for any Disney-loving fan. After all, the holidays are coming up. Most of these, actually, I think almost all but one of these, are available on Pop in a Box, and a lot of them are available in stock. What does that mean? That means that if you use my promo code, MATTRZY, you can get 10% off, because that code will get you 10% off anything that is in stock on Pop in a Box's website. You can also use it for pre-orders, it'll get you 5% off, or if you're ambitious and want to try a subscription box, it'll get you 15% off your first subscription box. Now, with that said, I just want to make it clear that this is not a sponsored video. Pop in a Box did not send me any of these pops. Well, technically, yes, they sent me the pops because I ordered them. I paid for them full price, but like they didn't gift me any of these pops. However, I am a Pop in a Box brand ambassador, so what that means is that if you ever feel compelled to order something off of Pop in a Box, if you use my affiliate link to make your purchase, as opposed to just typing popinabox.ca or .com or whatever, if you click onto the website using my affiliate link and use my promo code to get a little bit of a discount on your order, then that helps me out, it helps the channel out. I'll just call a spade a spade. Sometimes circumstances line up and I can get a little bit of a commission. It doesn't cost you anything else, plus if you use my code you get a discount. Win-win all around. So like normally I'd be more discreet and subtle. I'd be like, use my affiliate link, it's fun, but no, like there's commission involved, and why not? Just click on it, be nice. Anyway, I'm sick. Let's open up these Funkos. Alright, so once again, in today's video, we're going to be unboxing these in the order that I ranked them in my original video when the collection was first announced, which means we're going to be looking at these pops in the order of what was at one time my least favorite, and ending with what at one time was my most favorite. And yes, you see me handling the big impressive Maleficent dragon. At one point in time, this was my least favorite pop in the collection. But let's open her up. It's like doing surgery. It's a dragon! Oh my god, it's so heavy! It's so heavy! Oh my god. You are so beautiful. Your tongue is forked and yellow? Oh my god. I cannot, oh my god. This thing has some weight to it. The horns are adequately pointy, so you could use this as a blunt weapon if anyone were to invade your home. This is amazing! Ah, okay. A couple things that are standing out to me right away. She has this beautiful iridescent, I don't know if that's the right term. When I hear iridescent now, I just think shimmery and color changey based on the angle. So that's what I mean when I say iridescent. She has this beautiful iridescent paint on her wings, which I think is gorgeous. And then this beautiful, like, metallic paint on the purple part of her belly that is just outstanding. Now, the other key colors on this figure, the black, the green, as well as the yellow, those are just all kind of flat, matte colors, but I don't mind. Actually, I think that helps to emphasize how beautiful the purple detailing is on this figure. And you know what? It makes such a difference having this Maleficent in hand, because when she was first announced, I wasn't interested in this figure at all because there had been so many past Maleficent Dragon Funko Pops, but I personally didn't own any of them. So now that I have one, I love it. But beyond that, okay, I haven't actually seen any of the other Maleficent Dragon Funko Pops in person, but this one, significantly bigger. If we were to put this dragon in scale up against, like, hold on, let me get a regular Funko Pop. Okay, yeah, so here we have Princess Aurora, because we have to keep in the same continuity. Like, the scale here, this is what Maleficent Dragon scale should be to Funko Pop. And I said it when this was first announced, why isn't there a Prince Philip Funko Pop yet? How can they just unleash this monstrosity on the world without anyone to protect us? Anyway, here we are. Rawr, rawr. Oh no! Won't invite me to your first birthday party? Arr! Arr. This has absolutely set the bar for the rest of the collection, especially considering that this is the one I was least excited about. Like, imagine if they all exceed my expectations like this. Well, let's find out if they all exceed my expectations like this. Now, it is fitting that my least favorite was Maleficent, because my second least favorite was also Maleficent. But Maleficent in her, I almost said human form. Maleficent in her human-esque fairy, in her non-dragon form. Non-dragon Maleficent. Here we go. Okay. A few first impressions here. I don't know why this is just striking me right now after having watched and loved Sleeping Beauty for over 30 years. Maleficent's horns are the same as the dragon horns. That is Disney level attention to detail. Okay, but let's talk about the actual Maleficent figure. So this is the basic structure that we're going to see for most of the Pops in this collection. It is the character, and they are all on some kind of base with accessories, or in some cases, sidekick characters. This is something that I think was first introduced with the Ultimate Princess collection, and with that collection, I didn't love it. And that's a personal preference thing, because for me with Funko Pops, I prefer them to be standalone characters. Partially because I like to use them for photographs, also because I feel like once you add a base, then you're creating more of a scene, a statue, a diorama, and I just like them to be people. But the detail we're going to see on the bases for a lot of these characters is super impressive. Just not this one. I mean, okay, we do get Diablo the Raven. I enjoy that. But just aside from Diablo the Raven, looking at this figure, I don't see what the base is contributing to the pop that makes it necessary. I would have much preferred to have this sculpt of Maleficent standing on her own, and then maybe having Diablo on her arm, maybe having him resting on the staff. I don't know. In terms of Maleficent herself, one thing that's standing out to me is that her skin, it seems like it's a little bit of a lighter shade of green than what I'm accustomed to seeing from Maleficent merchandise. Now that said, I feel this is probably closer to the shade of green that's used in the movie, so for authenticity, I do respect that. But overall, I don't know, I stand by this being one of the least impressive Pops in the collection. Now, no shade towards Maleficent, she is an absolute queen and an icon. I just don't think that this Pop conveys that. Alright, next up on my list was the Evil Queen from Snow White. Now, kind of like Maleficent, the Evil Queen is a character that we have seen in at least one or two previous Funko Pop designs. Now, the one that I have in my collection is a Diamond Edition, so she's covered in sparkles and bling. Normally I don't like Diamond Edition, I think it works for this character. I do like now having a slightly more detailed sculpt of this character. One thing that just, okay, before I actually start to assess this Pop, why have we yet to have a Pop of the Evil Queen with the magic mirror? You know, okay, honestly, I just want a magic mirror Funko Pop. Okay, kind of the same as we saw with the Maleficent Pop. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what is the base giving me that I wouldn't get if it was a standalone figure. Now, granted, her evil bird, I don't think her henchbird has a name, but her henchbird has a little bit more of an impressive display to sit atop. I do like the added detail of the book, but really, the accessories that stand out for me on this pop are the things that she's holding. The test tube, in addition to the potion that she's holding in the other hand, the potion that turns her into the evil witch, love it. Maybe the base could have worked out if there was some writing in the book, but the book is just blank pages. And like, they have written things in books on past Funko Pops, so I don't know if that's just kind of lazy on their part, but again, I think this base is a solid improvement on the bare bones, no frills base we got with Maleficent, but still not totally necessary. For the character herself, again, I love the things that she's holding. I do like the detail and that implied movement in the fabric of her sleeves as well as her cape, and we are getting a lot more character in her eyes and her eyebrows than we had in the previous Evil Queen Funko Pop. So overall, I do love the character sculpt. The base, not sold on it. Let's move on. Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. Oh my god. I feel like Phoebe in that episode of Friends when she's sick and then she gets like her sexy jazz voice. Cruella de Vil, Cruella de Vil. Oh my god. Making myself get all hot. Or maybe that's just the fever. Okay, Cruella. Oh, look at you. Look at this icon! Oh my god! Yes, Queen! What nerve did I have putting you so close to the bottom of the list? Oh my gosh! First thing I'm noticing, her head turns. I don't know if the head's turned on either of the other previous pops. Nope. Oh, Maleficent does. Okay, actually, that's an extra point for Maleficent. Turning heads for me, that's always a pro when it comes to Funko Pops. You know what? I just realized part of the reason this had such a solid first impression is because she has a mouth. This is something I said in my video last week when I accidentally spent $200 on Funko Pops. You know what? I think the shock from that is what made me sick. But when Funko Pops have mouths, it elevates the figure, in my opinion, tenfold. Again, I don't want all the Pops to have mouths because then it takes away from the ones that do, but like, this is amazing. And there's just so much more detail, I feel, on Cruella than what we've seen thus far with the other Pops in the collection. I mean, yes, mouth, but even just the added sculpt around the eyebrows and the nose, and specifically the detailing on her fur coat and her cigarette, like, this is a standout figure, and I am in love with it. Again, I'm not too thrilled with the base. I would prefer to have this just as a standalone. I don't know what it is. It might be because the bag is coordinated with her coat, but there's just something about this table and the bag on top of it that sets more of a scene in my mind and in my mind's eye than the previous two do. But that's just me. So there we go. Cruella. Moving on. Alright, next on the list was Captain Hook. Now, I do have a Captain Hook figure in my collection already, but it is Captain Hook on Peter Pan's Flight. So this is going to be my first standalone Captain Hook figure, and the verdict says, oh my... Well, hello, Captain. This is stunning. Oh my gosh. I don't think I was prepared for how vibrant the red was going to be and how beautiful it was going to contrast up against the gold. Like, ah! One of my favorite features of the Captain Hook at Peter Pan's Flight Pop was the giant feather in his hat, and I'm glad to see that they did not compromise on that for this figure. Something that's really standing out to me that I didn't realize when I was looking at the glam shots is how shiny and glossy his boots are, and that's 100% a choice on Funko's part, because when you look at the paint on the rest of the figure, it's pretty matte. It's pretty matte. Words I don't hear very often, but it's pretty matte. But when you look at the boots, absolutely. That is a choice to make them glossy, and I think that's something that we saw actually with the Hamilton Funko Pops as well. I think little details like that just elevate a figure tenfold. Put them in glossy shoes, it makes them look that much more bougie, that much more sophisticated, refined, and that's everything Captain Hook is. He's a villain, but he's a classy villain. Now, maybe I'm a hypocrite, I don't know, because the base on this isn't that much different from the previous bases. It's just it has detailed flooring and one accessory, but this is the first figure where I legitimately love the base. The brown of the base as well as the barrel allows the vibrancy of the red and the yellow to pop that much more. And the greatest thing about this, well, there's a lot of great things about this figure. Another great thing about this figure is that we get the tiny, tiny Tinkerbell pop in his lantern. One thing, now that I'm looking at Tinkerbell, that I'm realizing is that Hook's hook is kind of leaving something to be desired. It doesn't read as a hook. And I feel like that's because the sculpt has the hook kind of melded into the ring of the lantern, and so you don't actually see the hooked part of the hook. And call me old-fashioned, I feel like Captain Hook should have a defined hook. But aside from that, overall, I love this figure. Next up we had Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog, and I'm so excited for this character because out of all the other characters, out of all the other characters we've unboxed so far, I had some type of Funko Pop for that character. This is my first ever Facilier Pop, and anytime I can get something from Princess and the Frog, it's an exciting day. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yes. See Funko, this, okay. I've been complaining about the bases for all of these Pops, minus Hook. Again, this is how you do a base. Let it offer something, some kind of additional flourish or detail that's going to complement the figure. Facilier has all of these beautiful, what I'm guessing are chalk drawings on the baseboards of his floor. That is giving me a setting, that is telling me a story, that's a mood, and I love it. Let's talk about some of the little details first. First of all, feather in his cap. As I established already with Captain Hook, we love to see a feather in the cap. He has a sly little grin. Once again, like I said with Cruella de Vil, we love to see a mouth on a Funko Pop. And this has to be the best base accessory in the collection so far. It's a skull with candles. Like, that's not just something generic. That is so perfect for Facilier. And it also, like, you know, a skull with candles, that's just so evocative of classic Disney villain. And I just realized that the skull is like a dead Funko Pop. Because it has the perfectly round eyes, but instead of them being sculpted to be outward, they're concaved in like it's a dead Funko Pop. That's the kind of stuff that thrills me. Alright, next. Now, my next favorite in the collection was actually a Villains Deluxe Pop. This is Ursula with Cauldron, even though officially her name is Ursula on Throne. I'm gonna admit, I'm so much more thrilled by this figure having it in hand than I was just looking at the concept art. And I know, like, she is ranked relatively high on my list because I couldn't deny that this was a beautiful figure, but having her in hand in person, they did not spare any detail. They spared no expense with crafting this witch. I mean, let's just start by talking about the sculpt on Ursula herself. The character here, outstanding. We've already established I love when Funko Pops have mouths. The additional detail of having nail polish on every individual finger, I adore that. And there's always kind of a trap you have with Ursula Funko Pops because the tentacles are usually difficult to deal with, but this is one case where the base is working in our favor because they're not depending on the tentacles to hold up the entire figure. We have this beautiful sand dune. So we are able to get some nice curvature and some nice, like, swirliness in the tentacles. Granted, you don't really see the tentacles because they're obscured by this giant cauldron. You know, it's called Ursula on Throne, but there's no throne. Why isn't it called Ursula on Cauldron? Anyway, the detail in Flotsam and Jetsam, fantastic, and I do love the translucent quality to these bubbles surrounding Ursula. The one thing that is kind of weird when you look at it up close is just realizing that the bubbles are bolted onto Ursula's head. So clearly this is a display piece that's meant to be seen kind of from far away, because the closer that you get, the more you realize that, like, this is almost like her brain is exploding. I know clearly that's not what it is. I'm overthinking it, but there it is. But this is just one of two deluxe villain figures. Let's take a look at the figure that I ranked above this. Bow down, peasants, because the queen has entered the building. Ooh. Oh, all right. The evil queen on throne. And unlike Ursula, this throne is actually a throne. This is gorgeous. Oh, I love this. The reason I initially ranked this above Ursula on Throne, even though it's Ursula with Cauldron, is partially just because of the obscurity of it, but also because of the attention to detail. I mean, one of my favorite things about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the character design, the art direction. It is a visually stunning film. And one of the beautiful things about Funko products is that they have this tendency, kind of like we saw with the Ursula pop, to pick more obscure moments and more obscure designs and then just bring them to life. I think we only see the evil queen on her throne once in the film, during this specific scene when she has the box and she's like, "Huntsman, bring me her heart in this." So this, first of all, is depicting one of the most dramatic scenes in the entire film. But the throne! Her throne is a frickin' peacock. I mean, I knew just looking at the concept art for this pop that I loved the accent pieces of the throne with these gold baubles with the blue accents in the middle, but now that I'm holding it, you can't really see because the queen's head is in the way, but her throne is a peacock showing its feathers. How frickin' perfect is that for this character? And as for the queen herself, this sculpt is absolutely doing justice to Her Majesty. One of the first things that stood out to me about this pop when it was first announced was just the beautiful detailing in her cape. Does not disappoint in person whatsoever. One thing that kind of stands out to me is that I think this is the first time I've seen very clearly a Funko Pop neck so accentuated. Like, I'm not sure why they made the choice to have her head elevated that much higher than her shoulders, because normally for these pops, the head just connects right to the shoulder pieces, but she legit has a neck. It does add a little bit of added posture to her, which I think gives an added air of authority. Maybe that's what they were going for, and it does absolutely read, because you look at this and, like, it's bleeding authority. However, just visually, that little peg neck, it makes her look almost like a bobblehead that doesn't bobble. So I'm not totally sold on that, but small nitpicky complaint for what I feel is a gorgeous figure. Okay, we have hit a very interesting point in the list, because a year and a half ago when this whole collection was first announced, they only announced 9 figures. Since then, Funko just out of the blue surprised us and gave us 2 added characters to this collection, and in my opinion, they're like 2 of my favorites, but we'll talk about those in a second, because I do still want to go in the order of that original list. So now, we're going to look at the figure that I ranked as best in this entire collection when it was first announced, Lady Tremaine. I'm not joking, just hold on, you'll see. There she is, Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. I am not joking. Once again, this was ranked my #1 figure in this entire collection. I'm going to give you an opportunity to guess why. First, let's just take a look at the figure, alright? Let's see what we've got here. First of all, this is the first time we have ever had one of the Tremaines, or one of the evil step family, sculpted and introduced as a Funko Pops. So first of all, that was thrilling, because all of these other characters had already had Pops in the past. So seeing Lady Tremaine introduced to the Pop family, a thrill. I do love the detailing in her hair. I think they absolutely nailed her character with what they did with the eyes, what they did with her posture, 100%. But very clearly, the star of this pop is this little itty bitty Lucifer. Now, I did put her as #1 on my list, kind of as a tongue-in-cheek joke, because clearly Lucifer is one of my all-time favorite Disney characters. Not even one of my favorite Disney cats, just one of my favorite Disney characters. So I was over the moon to see that my boy here was getting immortalized as a Funko Pop, even if it was an accessory. But now that I do have the pop in hand, and if you know, you know. I mean, we're going to talk more about this kitty in a second. But now that I actually have the pop in hand, just the fact that her accessory is a character as iconic as Lucifer makes her soar above most of these other figures. But, if you've been following the Funko Pop and or D23 news, you know that a dream is a wish your heart makes when you're fast asleep. In dreams, you can lose your heartaches. Whatever you wish for, you keep. I'm going to stop quoting Cinderella because I'm just going to say it. My wish came true. Disney released a Lucifer Funko Pop. This absolute icon, this cat salute icon, got the immortalization that he deserves. Let's open it up. Wait, before we open it up, we need a special guest here. Hold on. Come on, buddy. Come on. Okay, let's open up your Funko Pop. Oh, he is perfect. Now, I will say, elephant in the room, the pop is actually a lot smaller than he looked when this figure was first announced. Like, when it was being advertised, it looked like the figure filled the entire box. Then when you get it, he's like a teeny tiny Lucifer, but whatever. I'm not going to complain about getting a Lucifer Funko Pop. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think they captured his character phenomenally. I mean, he has all those added details I've been talking about loving that really add an extra punch to a Funko Pop. Like, you know, the added detailing, the texture on his fur, the mouth. I think the green eyes, I'm not sure if that's something that we actually see in the film, but it seems to have become like the go-to for depicting Lucifer in merchandise recently. I'm okay with that. Like, the added little paw prints on his base I love, and I'm just realizing now that there's an indentation of a paw print in the dustpan as well. Like, these are just the little details that sell me and win my heart. Now, of course, like I've said with the other characters, I would have much preferred to have had a standalone Lucifer Funko Pop. That way I could have him hanging out with like the Cheshire Cat or my other Disney cats, but I will take what I can get. Overall, I think the design of this pop is top-notch and absolutely worthy of the greatest Disney villain cat. Well, I say greatest Disney villain cat, I don't know, because there is another one who actually got his own Funko Pop as well. The final pop we are going to unbox in this collection, Scar with Meat. Now, I'm calling him Scar with Meat because that's literally the title of this pop when you're buying it online. Like, he was marketed as Scar with Meat. I'm just noticing here on the box, he's only called Scar. I don't mind that, actually. Oh, okay, so first of all, it is so nice to finally have a beautiful, good sculpt of cartoon Scar. Now, we have had Scar as a Funko Pop in the past, but I believe he was like from the early days of Funko Pops, like 2013, 2014 or something like that. So first of all, not the easiest to get. Secondly, kind of lacking in detail because, you know, obviously Funko Pop design has evolved with the market over the past few years. I say with the market like I've done research. They've evolved, so they're more detailed now. That's all I mean to say. And yes, technically we had a Scar Funko Pop fairly recently when that live action / better animated atrocity came out a few years ago, but this is the first time we are getting a Scar that is worthy of the character, worthy of the Jeremy Irons classic icon. Like, just look at this. Beautiful. Just look at this beautiful evil feline. I love that they made the choice to do him so that he is actually lying down. He's lounging, as it were, which is actually the reason that he's in a horizontal box as opposed to the standard vertical upright box. But just kind of making that choice, I feel, allowed Funko to give us a better quality depiction of Scar. This is a perfect example of why, in my mind, these pops don't need to have bases. This is the only character in this entire collection that is just a standalone, and I love him for it. And by losing the base, we're not losing any additional detail because we have the zebra leg. The zebra leg is giving that added little punch of extra color that we don't get with the character himself. Just having that added bit of white alongside the red at the base of the zebra carcass, it just makes this character and this pop as a whole stand out that much more. So this right here is my example as to why you don't need bases to do an elevated Disney villain pop figure. So, there we go. But now that I've actually unboxed and reviewed all of these figures, I think it is high time I update my list and re-rank them in order from least favorite to most favorite. Let's go. Coming in at number 11, Maleficent. I think the base is lazy, I like the bird, but the sculpt for Maleficent doesn't do justice to the character. Number 10, the Evil Queen from Snow White. Decent sculpt for the character herself, the base adds absolutely nothing, and I feel like it was laziness on Funko's part to put no writing in the book. Number 9, Lady Tremaine with Lucifer. Yes, it is nice to finally have a Lady Tremaine Funko Pop, but it would be nice to have her as a standalone figure. It is nice to have a tiny Lucifer, but we have a big Lucifer now, so nothing super special about this figure. Number 8, Cruella de Vil. Absolutely top-notch sculpt of Cruella herself. The base once again adds nothing, but for once I don't think it's actually taking away anything from the figure. Number 7, Scar with Meat. A simple figure, but an elegant one, proving that you don't need a base to make a top quality Disney Villain Funko Pop. Only complaint being that the paint for his scar should be a little bit more pronounced, or should I say pronounced. I shouldn't say that. Number 6, Captain Hook. A prime example of how you can use colors to cross-complement each other to really make a figure pop, plus the teeny tiny tink is absolutely adorable. Detail second to none. Number 5, Dr. Facilier. First of all, give us more Princess and the Frog Funko Pops. Secondly, this is the only Disney villain that's actually doing something creative and fun with its base. Thirdly, look at those cheekbones! Number 4, Ursula on throne, even though it should be called Ursula with cauldron. Look at the details, so much going on here. 3 characters, 1 heart coming out of a crown, translucent bubbles. What more could you look for? Number 3, Evil Queen from Snow White on Peacock Throne. One of the most iconic Disney villains in one of the most important scenes from the film, doing justice to both. Number 2, Maleficent as Dragon. Show me a more iconic Disney villain than Maleficent. Show me a more iconic Disney dragon than Maleficent as Dragon. I'll wait. Exactly. This pop does justice to the character, this pop does justice to the character as a dragon, beautiful detailing, and it's so freaking heavy. Like, I want vinyl for my money, this delivers. And number 1 should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, Lucifer. Why? Because it's my video, my channel, this cat deserves the world. Alright friends, there you have it, the entire Disney Villains Funko Pop collection. Just a reminder that with the exception of Lucifer, pretty well all of these pops are available for you over at Pop in a Box, and at the time of recording this video, I think almost all of them are in stock. So if you do place an order for any of these figures at Pop in a Box and use my code MATTRZY, it'll save you 10% off your order, because that code will just get you 10% off anything that's in stock on the website. It'll also get you 5% off pre-orders, so if you see anything that's a pre-order, you can get a little bit of a discount there as well. Just a reminder, if you are going to log on to Pop in a Box, if you use my affiliate link that I have for you listed down below, it really does help out the channel. But with that said, friends, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup 4-1. Now let me know in the comment section down below which one of these Disney villain pops was your favorite, and also let me know which Disney villain do you think should join the collection. Personally, I'm kind of disappointed that we didn't see a Gaston. I'm guessing that's because we just had a whole Beauty and the Beast 30th anniversary collection, but honestly, I just want Gaston holding the mirror being like, kill the beast. Anyway, if you want to be the first to know when I release more videos about Funko Pops, Disney, movies, sometimes Shakespeare, sometimes cats, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already, and if you haven't subscribed already, it is so easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup for 1.